What's up everybody, Daniel Day back again with another video for DDay Gaming, and today I'm going to be unboxing this guy. What is this? This is a Blackwidow Chroma V2 keyboard from Razer. This one in particular has got the orange switches. Confession bear time, I have never actually owned a gaming keyboard. I have done a lot of research on them and almost bought one a few times, but just never jumped on the bandwagon. And when I read that they were coming out with these new V2 Blackwidows and then started reading a lot of good things about them pre-release, I decided now was the time finally. So as you can imagine, I am very, very anxious to play around with this thing, but I also wanted to make sure I got an unboxing video for you guys. So stick around and hopefully we can take care of both of those things after the break. Okay, so hopefully this camera angle works a little bit better so we can go ahead and see what is inside of the box. So obviously the packaging on this, as you would expect, is very, very, very nice. Yeah, I thought this was cool little touch. There is actually a little orange switch key inside of this that you can kind of press. So I guess the idea is that if you had all of these beside each other on store shelves, once they are all available at brick and mortar locations, you could kind of walk through and press these and hear the differences and feel the differences, hopefully to make an educated keyboard purchasing decision. I just kind of had to read a bunch of stuff online and hope for the best. So anyway, other than that, not a whole lot of interesting stuff on the box. It's a nice box, that's for sure. But we've got, yeah, just some info on the back about feeling the difference and all of that fun stuff. Some information on the different switch types right here. And I see right here there's a couple of little tabs I guess you pull across to remove the tape. But what would be the fun in that? You cannot have an unboxing video without using a hilariously oversized knife to cut the box open. So as is normally the case, we are going to go ahead and use this guy. So let's go ahead and slice through this right here. Try not to cut any appendages off. All right, almost, almost slipped and cut myself there. Y'all would have been in for a show. Okay, so get this flipped back over here and opened up. Insert angelic hymn music here. Okay, so there you go. You've got, it looks like all sorts of cardboard and little pieces here to protect the keyboard, some sort of clear sheet here. It looks like we've got our documentation up here. I'm not sure if that's going to be in focus or not. Probably not on my camera. Yeah, just looks like a guide here with all sorts of information. And oh, look at that. Some Razer stickers. That is very cool. Kind of like the Apple stickers that I get with all my iPhones and iPads and stuff. So that's just legalese. Okay. Anyway, yeah, get that out of the way. And what there is, I guess, your little key from the outside of the box. Remove to demo. Is this a? It's like a little keychain, maybe? I'm not really sure. We'll play around with that in a second. All right, what do we need to do to get this out of here? All right, so that lifts up. And does it now? What do we got? Looks like, wow, that is a big, thick, braided keyboard cable there with some other stuff coming off of it. We'll have to check that out. And yeah, lift this out of here. Get this stuff off. And that is right there. And remove that from there. All right, so we got our keyboard here, and I think that's it for the box, other than whatever this thing is. Oh, it's the wrist strap. Okay, that is awesome. That is very, very soft too. Wow. Wow, I did not expect that to be that soft. Yeah, very, very soft. All right, let me get this box out of the way, get the work area here cleaned up, and I will be right back. Okay, so got this thing out of the box and got it all hooked up to the computer. It did not recognize it right away. It turned out I needed to download some software from Razer. I believe they call it their Synapse software. So I got that installed and messed around with it for a minute. It actually seems pretty cool. Apparently, you can create an account with this software, and then all of the little profiles and tweaks and button layout changes and all of the customizations that you make to, it looks like any of your Razer products, you can basically save up to the cloud. And so that would mean that if you wanted to use your mouse or your keyboard on a different computer, or perhaps you bought a new computer and replaced your old one, you could just install the Synapse software, log in, and all of those settings get pulled back down from the cloud that you took, you know, all your time setting up and configuring to your liking. So that seems really neat. I'm excited to play around with that. I've got several computers I might want to use this thing on. So yeah, very, very curious to check that out a little bit further. As far as overall fit and finish goes, it seems very, very nice. I had read that some of the older Razer keyboards, basically whatever black plastic they were made out of, was essentially an oil magnet, a fingerprint magnet, whatever you want to call it, and that was not the case with the V2 Blackwidow Chromas. And I can tell you, after messing around with this thing for a few minutes, that seems to be accurate. I cannot find a single fingerprint on this thing. It's actually made out of this very, very soft, almost rubberized feeling plastic, which I like quite a bit. Very, very, very nice. It's a heavy keyboard. It seems very, very sturdy, which I like as well. It's even got a very nice braided cable that comes off of the end of it. And I was actually a little shocked because when I looked at the end of that cable, there were two USB ports, two USB Type A connections essentially, as well as a 3.5mm audio jack. So I started poking around, turning the keyboard around, looking at all of that, and it seems as though what they've done is there is on the side of this keyboard, there is a USB port as well as an audio jack, a 3.5mm for headphones. And when you take those two ports, as well as the keyboard needing to be plugged in, it makes sense, right? So effectively what they've done is, instead of making this a straight hub coming off of a single USB connection, they've actually built a USB pass-through into this. And so that almost certainly means that the audio jack, the headphone jack, is a pass-through as well. So that seems super neat. That makes sure that they are treated as two separate devices, and depending on how your computer's set up, you may actually be able to pull that off of two different buses, or have the USB cables plugged into two separate places, meaning that a high drain device like this keyboard isn't trying to supply itself with all of the power off of the single connection that it needs, but also whatever else you've got plugged in. So that offers you some flexibility. That's one of those things I didn't even think that I would need, but now that I have it, that seems like a fantastic idea. So yeah, so that's very nice. Like I said, whatever it's made out of feels very, very nice. And I got to tell you, whatever this wrist rest is made out of, I love it. It's actually magnetized. There are magnets in here, and when you get it near it, it essentially just kind of sucks itself into place, which is fantastic. But whatever this is made out of is just crazy soft. I love it. It is really, really neat. You know, honestly, when I got this thing out of the box, I wondered whether I'd even use the wrist rest or not. I have used them before. I've used quite a few of them, but with this keyboard in particular, I noticed you know, but when I was ordering the thing, essentially, that the one catch with using this wrist rest was that it actually covers up this Razer logo that is right here. And you might think that's not that big of a deal, but this Razer logo actually lights up when you're doing all of the LED lighting effects and all of that. And, you know, by putting this wrist rest on, you effectively cover it up, and so you lose the cool little light thing there. Now, I suppose some people might not like this one in particular because it's kind of at an angle pointing directly in their eyeballs. But in my particular case, I thought that was really neat, and I was anxious to play around with it, and I knew using this would make that one LED, you know, basically useless, although not like you don't have a whole lot of other ones, right? But after feeling this thing and that, I am totally going to keep it on. I like this quite a bit. It's got little rubber feet on the bottom to keep it from sliding around on your desk. So does the keyboard. But again, with it being magnetic like that, I think it's great because when you want to use it, you know, it's easy to put on, it's easy to take off, even in the dark, which I like quite a bit. So yeah, so you got that going on. I also noticed that there's some macro keys over here. That's going to come in handy. So I suppose at this point, I should take a moment to explain that this keyboard is available with 3 different key types, 3 different switch types, and Razer chooses to kind of name those by color scheme. So they've got the green switches, they've got the orange switches, and they've got the yellow switches. And in the last version of this keyboard, you could get the green switches and the orange switches, but the yellow switches are new. Now, the green switches are by far the most common and the most popular of all of Razer's switch types. They are the loudest as well, and that's why they weren't a really great option for me. I use a Blue Yeti microphone. These things are famous for being great, but picking up every little sound, and I figured with this thing being so close to my keyboard, having the green keys would probably present some issues as I was streaming. So I definitely wanted to avoid that. Next up, you've got the orange keys, which is what I went with, which feel about the same apparently as the green keys, but you know, are substantially quieter, and so that's the ones that I went with. Now, of course, you've then got the yellow keys, which are the new ones, and those are supposed to be even quieter than the orange keys. They are new, but from everything that I've read, they feel different. They don't feel like these. The force it takes for them to register a key press is less. The travel distance on them is less. And all in all, from what I've read, they just apparently don't feel quite exactly like mechanical keyboard keys, and that's really what I wanted. So it was really for me between the green and the orange, and I needed them to be quieter. So even though this thing was harder to get my hands on, I'm glad that I went with it. And the key presses are relatively quiet, especially for a mechanical keyboard. Certainly not as quiet as my Bluetooth Apple keyboard with the little chiclet keys, for instance, but that thing is not a mechanical keyboard, right? As far as mechanical keyboards go, this one's actually pretty quiet, right? So I'm happy with that. I'm hoping that provided I get my microphone set up appropriately, that I can not necessarily drown all of that out, but it will have minimal impact while I'm streaming. Certainly the green switches, I think that probably would have been impossible with. So yeah, initial impressions, very impressed with this thing. You know, certainly I want to spend quite a bit more time with it. I'd like to edit some videos with it, do some other general computer work, and certainly play a lot of games with it. Really put it through its paces, mess around with those macro keys, the USB pass-through, all of that fun stuff. So, you know, I'm going to do that, and I may come back and do kind of a finalized impressions video, possibly even a review of this thing once I really have sat down and put it through its paces. But yeah, didn't want this video to be crazy long. It is an unboxing and initial impressions after all, and I feel like we have accomplished that. So now some of you might be saying to yourself, but Dan, you haven't shown off all the cool lighting effects that the keyboard does. Yes, I know. We will get to that. My plan is to do that at the end of this video, which we are quickly approaching. So yeah, I'm going to try and capture some footage of the lights changing and all of that fun stuff. Never done that sort of thing before. I'm thinking maybe I'm going to have to turn the lights off. We'll see how that goes. But before things get dark in here, I figured I'd go ahead and close this video out, and then we would do that. So just wanted to say thanks for making it this far in the video. If you have watched all the way through, and wanted to give a special shout out to my subscribers. You guys rock. And if you're watching this and you have not subscribed to my channel, maybe check out some of the other videos on my channel. And if you like my particular brand of rambling, maybe click that subscribe button. Stick around for a while, right? There's also the notifications option. If you want to click the notifications bell, that way you can find out as soon as I post videos like this. If you'd like to find me other places on the internet, you can follow me on Twitter at that DDay guy. hi. And I stream too here on YouTube Gaming as well as Twitch. Same content in both places. Ultimately, just depends on what your preference is. So for YouTube, you've already found me. If you don't want to lose me, again, shameless plug, click the subscribe button, right? And if Twitch is more your thing, my username there is DDay on Twitch. So once again, everybody, just wanted to say thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.